well, I'm just speaking my mind and I'm blunt and I'm just keeping it real. It's like, no, you can make your point without having to be cruel or callous. You know what I'm saying? You can have tact with your delivery. Hi, I'm Taylor-Alexis, and this is a safe place to talk dangerously about life lessons in your 30s. Okay, so if you're new, welcome. If not, thanks for coming on back. Okay, today we're gonna talk about friendship breakups, friendship fallouts. Man, oh man, oh man. There's somewhere around like mid-20s to mid-30s where like you might lose a lot of friends or you might just grow apart, things like that. So I wanted to kind of talk about it briefly. There's so many subtopics within friendships and friendship breakups that we can't cover it all, but let's get to a little bit of it today. So let's talk. I know, why do I seem so jolly about it? Only because I'm excited to talk to you guys, that's all. And welcome the new folks that are here. Let's grow together. Friendship fallouts can happen for so many reasons. And I think the number one reason is life changes, right? A lot of us have career paths that might suck all of our time, you know, or maybe perhaps you're married, perhaps you're a parent, you know, maybe you're taking care of a parent, maybe you're a caregiver in some other way. These kind of life changes will shift your priorities and your availability. And sometimes you might not have the bandwidth or the capacity to pour into a friendship, right? I think another reason is like differences in goals and values. As we grow and mature, if you will, you know, we tend to look at life differently. Our perspective changes. We might go through some things that give you a whole new insight or perspective as to, you know, what life is really about. And sometimes, you know, everyone's not operating on that same frequency. Evolving personal values will clash and it'll lead to conflict. Like you're just not on the same page as you once were with someone. Another reason would be communication breakdown, because it's so important to like communicate with your friends and have the hard conversations, because, you know, sometimes you can get to a better understanding. There's all this talk online about low maintenance friendships, and I don't necessarily rock with those. I mean, I think obviously you can't be everywhere all at once, you know, unless you have a clone or whatever, and that's a different kind of channel. You know, the minimal effort can lead to resentment. The same effort that you might apply into a relationship should be applied into friendships as well. Now, I'm not saying you got to go all out, because obviously relationships, if you practice monogamy, it's a one-on-one exchange where, you know, if you're pouring into friends, that's multiple people that you're pouring into as well. But I think, you know, you have to have a balance of like give and take, right? You can't expect people to show up for you if you don't show up for them. It's being popularized, I'm trying not to say normalized, but it's being normalized to be an awful friend. And it's like, no. You know, like I don't even like when people say things like, oh, well, I'm just speaking my mind and I'm blunt and I'm just keeping it real. It's like, no, you can make your point without having to be cruel or callous. You know what I'm saying? You can have tact with your delivery or your message. Just a reminder, healthy friendships lift you up. They don't tear you down. From social media, you can tell that we all want community. I think especially like in your 30s, because it's just a weird time of like, life is really changing for like yourself and your peers. That's why I don't know. I don't rock with low maintenance friendships. No. There's this notion, now I feel like I'm just spitballing anything that comes to my brain about friendships, but there's this notion that you have to remain friends with someone or in communication with someone because of time, or because maybe they were there for you in like a certain time, or you were there for them in a certain time of their life. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because, you know, if you were to remove the time, then what are you holding on to? What about the friendship are you holding on to? And it's not to say that you or the other person are, you know, horrible friends or awful friends or things like that. It's just maybe you don't align anymore and it's clashing, right? Think about those times where you hang out with someone and you have to like, you know, figure out what you want to talk about, or doing the same activities. Like things change. You know, are you open to doing those new activities with them? Are they open to doing it with you? Vice versa. Like all of these things matter. They do. It could help you prevent a friendship breakup, but you know, things happen. On another note, like sometimes we just outgrow people. I think one of the biggest examples of that for me is like when I find myself speaking with someone or a friend or something like that, and they're very fixated on the past, instead of like what's going on or what they want to do in the future or whatever, I'm like, I don't know. Like I start to do like an audit, and I'm not saying like, I just get rid of friends left and right, but I just start to do an audit. It's like if every time we hang out, it's just like, remember that time we did, remember that time we did, remember that, remember. I'm like, okay, but like, what about now? What are we gonna do going forward? What's going on with that? And just because you outgrow someone or you fall out from the friendship, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself, but you don't have to be nasty about it. Like, it doesn't have to be this petty thing or anything like that. It would be best to kind of reflect, right? Like, how do you feel after hanging out with them? How do you feel after speaking with them on the phone or something like that? I always encourage to journal. With the reflection comes journaling. But anyways, back to the friendship breakups. Reflecting on what happened, what triggered it, did you speak up for yourself? Like, I can't tell you, man, if I can go back in time and I had more of a backbone or more like confidence to be like, actually, no, I don't like that. Or I don't like that you did this. I think my friendships would have been a little bit different. Friendship fallouts, like, they don't have to be so dramatic where like, you cut the line of communication and blah, 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 blah. I think sometimes an olive branch is nice to have just in case you want to open that door up again. But I think you have to ask yourself, because I'm pretty forgiving, I would say, sometimes a little too much. But I think nowadays, like, there's certain things that people do and say that I'm like, I can't have that around me, or I can't have that close to me. So I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels like that out there. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be honest with your friend too. Like, and it doesn't have to be this blame game kind of thing. It could just simply be, I statements, right? And when they tell you in therapy, focus on how you feel. Like, I am hurt by you doing X, Y, and Z, or I'm hurt when you said ABC, like that kind of stuff. And if you do decide to reconcile after some time with a friend or a former friend, I think boundaries are important. I always preach that boundaries. You have to set them so that, you can avoid future conflicts, or maybe like blowing up as much, right? And it's easier said than done. Because to be honest with you, I feel like we live in a world now where it's just like everybody's nonchalant. Everybody doesn't give a shit. Everybody's unbothered. And I'm like, what? Like, no. Like, to feel is a superpower. Honestly and truly. But I think all in all, like with certain friendships, you have to know when it's time to let go. If you're like constantly butting heads, you try to talk about an issue and it doesn't seem to be resolved or whatever, or the person doesn't even give a crap, then, you gotta let it go. I'll give you an example. I had an issue with a friend, and her and I went to brunch. And I told her what my issue was, and she kind of like doubled down on it. There was no apology, no acknowledgement for the hurt. And I'm like, wow, this took a lot for me to like actually say this to you, and then it's just being disregarded. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, we're never gonna be friends again. And I had to let that go. Now, there are folks out there that will handle things in the most pettiest manner just to get like a reaction out of you. And my advice, don't give it. As soon as you peep game, don't give it. That's exactly what they want. Just because you and another person no longer are friends, or you no longer speak, that you have to spill any tea. I just think, like, keep it classy, keep it cute. Your secrets are safe. Don't tell no lies about me. I'm gonna tell no truth about you. No, just kidding. But you just have to know that sometimes friendships run its course, and that's okay. And it's painful too, because you can meet people like, I don't know, like in college, or maybe in high school, middle school, and you're friends for all these years, and then like one day it's like, oh wait, that's no longer a thing. It's okay to part ways amicably. I don't believe necessarily in ghosting, but I do think that sometimes silence is warranted. Case by case, you decide, use your judgment. But, I think sometimes you have to ask yourself, is this person open to like hearing how I feel? Or like, can we actually resolve this? Is this something like that we honestly and truly can fix? Or is this just kind of like, our core values don't align? You have to grieve the friendship. And that is part of the process. It's okay. It's all right. I know it sucks. I think especially with women, we have like such a bond with each other that sometimes the friendship breakups can hurt more than the relationship breakups, because it's like, hey, like we know each other, we've seen each other through everything, or like, you know, we're like synced on a different level, that kind of thing. In those moments, like you just have to trust in God, and that sometimes God will remove people from your life to make room for new folks that bring a different kind of perspective. And I think in those moments, like, it's easy to feel like the victim, but I think you'll benefit from it for sure by asking yourself, what can I do to be a better friend? You know, how could I have handled this differently? Not saying that you like go back and rekindle necessarily, but just think about those things of like, maybe I could have spoken up and said this, or maybe I could have changed my tone when I said this, or maybe I could have, you know, responded right away and not waited until like, you know, I reached my capacity and exploded. Things like that. You know, ask yourself, like, what did you learn about yourself? And I know I don't want to come on here all the time and give you like therapy talk, because not every moment calls for that. Sometimes I believe that therapy talk will get people jammed up. But don't be so hard on yourself. Like, you're figuring this out as well. And if you're blessed to have like an OG woman in your life, whether that be like your mom, you know, an aunt, older cousin or something like that, someone who's also lived life too, and they tell you that this person is not your friend, take heed. They know. I'm telling you, they know. And I find myself in my mid-30s like wanting to say that to like my younger folks in my life and stuff. I'm like, I don't know about that one, but you know, you got to let people go through their own things too. But take heed, you know, take heed. I've had someone like warn me like, those aren't your friends. And I was like, yes, they are. What do you mean? Survey says, right. With friendship breakups too, nobody wants to hear this, but that's also a nice time to be like, okay, well, what do I want in a new friendship, right? I'll give you an example. For me, I'm like, I want to be around people that also have like things going on in their lives, like either projects or passions, things that they're working on, you know, that way it doesn't feel like this weird competition if I bring up something that I'm working on. Like I want my friends to win, and I want to be friends with friends that want me to win too, right? Not like, you know, side comments, no one like, just, yeah. You know how like they say you can't vacation with everyone? It's like that, like everybody cannot go. And I think you should really reflect on this before you start putting yourself out there to make a new friend. Like obviously, of course, like maybe you just make a friend on the whim, whatever. But I mean, if you're being like intentional about it, I think take some time, right? The same thing with dating. Take some time for self and then put yourself back out there. So let's wrap. Friendship breakups, they suck. Just like heartbreaks, but they probably suck even more. Just being honest. But everybody can't go, and it's okay. It's okay. That like you might be the villain in someone's story, and that is all right too. They might be the villain in yours. They might be a clown. Who knows, right? That's no shade, and that's no shade. I'm just saying it's the reality of a situation. You know, maybe both of you didn't do anything wrong, and you just grew apart. That can happen too. But like everything else that you experience, you're gonna grow. You're gonna grow from this. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna miss them. You're gonna think about those moments. But once you get on the other side of that grieving process, you'll feel a lot better. You'll feel a lot stronger, and you'll be more resilient. So if you feel called to, let me know how you feel about friendship breakups, and like, what did you do to get yourself out of that funk? You know, because it's real. All right, thank you so much for watching. I am Taylor-Alexis, and this is a safe place to talk dangerously, darling. So if this was your jam, if you liked anything that you saw here today, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you here next time, okay? Bye.